Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm making a tutorial on how to make your jean skirt with fly zipper, your side pockets and back pockets. So guys, this tutorial is loaded with lots and lots of sewing tips. So stay tuned. I'm sure you will learn more than you anticipated. Alright, so right here I've marked my starting point. So from there I'll take my waist to hip length, which is 9 inches. Then afterwards I'll mark the length of the skirt. Okay, so the length of my skirt, I want it to be 20 to 21 inches depending. Okay, so it's just going to be at my knee or just 1 inch above the knee. Okay, so you can make your own skirt length as long as you want. Okay, so I've connected those points in a straight line. So right there, and I'll add 2 inches for hemming allowance. That's to hem the lower part of my skirt, right? So the measurements I have here are the waist to the hip measurement, the length of the skirt, and 2 inches hemming allowance. So this right here is the waist, this is the hip, this is the length of the skirt and hemming allowance, right? So these are just the measurements you need vertically. The next measurement to be needing is just the waist and the hip for the horizontal measurements. Now for the center front, I'll come inwards by 2 inches like so, and this is for the front and back. I'll be using this one pattern to cut the front and back, so this will take care of my back vent and also take care of my fly zipper in front. Okay, so that's why I'm adding these 2 inches allowance, right? So afterwards, from the 2 inches allowance, I can now start taking my measurements. Okay, so on the waistline, I'm going to mark quarter of my waist measurement, and that means dividing your waist measurement by 4. So my waist is 42 divided by 4, that gives me 10.5. So I'll be marking 10.5 on the waistline. Right, on the hip line, I'll mark the hip divided by 4. Hip is 44 divided by 4, that's 11. So on the waistline, I'll mark 1 inch for that allowance and 1 inch side seam allowance. Then on the hip line, I'll just mark my 1 inch seam allowance. So what I'll do will be to connect from the waist to the hip using the curvy part of my ruler, like so. Then for the length of the skirt, I'm going to measure exactly what I have on the hip line. Okay, I'll bring it down to the length of the skirt. Okay, when I make a mark there, I'll then come in by 2 inches. You can do 1 inch or 1.5 depending on how tapered you want the lower part of the skirt to be. It's a pencil skirt, so depending on how you want it to taper down at the lower part, right? So I connect from the hip to the length of the skirt. Okay, now connect to your seam allowance. Then I'll cut out the pattern just so that we would have our working pattern. Right, so afterwards, the next thing you would do would be to draft out your dart. Your dart is drafted using your bust span. So my bust span divided by 2, I'll make a mark at that point. Then my dart length is 5 inches. Your bust span is your nipple to nipple measurement, right? So you take that measurement, divide it by 2. Then whatever value you get, you mark that on the waistline. Then come down by 5 inches as the length of your dart. All right, so remember that the dart allowance I allocated is 1 inch, so half inch on both sides of the bust span line. Please ignore I'm trying to show something to my apprentice. Please ignore that, right? So I've marked 1.5 inch on both sides of the bust span line, and that has taken care of my dart, right? So what will I do? I'll just cut out the upper part, that's the waist area, so that I would have the pattern right here. Okay. Right, so the next thing I'll do will be to mark out my band. I want a band height of 2 inches, so I'll take out 1.5 inches from my pattern. Okay, so the remaining half inch would be seam allowance to attach the band to the skirt. So I'm marking out 1.5 across the waistline. Okay, so instead of taking out the 2 inches I want for the band, I'll take out 1.5, so that when I'm done, when I want to attach the band, the remaining half inch that is remaining from the 2 inches, we've taken out 1.5. The remaining half inch will now serve as my seam allowance to attach the band. It's better than cutting out 2 inches. Then when you're cutting out your fabric, you will now add half inch. I don't want to go through that confusion, so you don't get confused. So if you want a band height of 2 inches, just take out 1.5. The remaining half inch would be your seam allowance to attach the band. So what I'll do now will be to cut out the band. Okay, so like so, you cut out the band. So when you cut out this band, what it means is that your dart allowance has reduced, okay, or your dart leg has reduced. So you can see on the dart leg I have like a quarter of an inch on both sides of the dart line. So when you are sewing your dart, note that you would sew on quarter of an inch on both sides of the dart line. You don't go and sew with half inch. Now the front is usually lower than the back. So from the center front, I'll come down by half inch. You can do 1 inch, but half inch is okay. So you're going to connect that half inch to the end of your pattern, like so. Okay, so that you don't have a bulge. We are women, we are females. Okay, so you don't have that bulge that how comes in front, looking like a crotch bulge or something. Okay, so that's what I do. I come down by half inch. You can use the curvy part of your ruler if you're on the slimmer side, on the slim side, and but if you have a bit of belly, you would use the straight part of your ruler. Okay, that way you would have a little bit of allowance to accommodate your tummy. So I'll be working with this upper part, and that's why I am making a mark at that point. I'll be making use of the straight line. Okay, so I wouldn't cut it out now. I'd first go and transfer this pattern to my fabric for the back. Okay, so after cutting it out, I'll then, this is the back, I'll mark that this is the back. Okay, front and back, you need to indicate that. So this is the back. Okay, this is B. I'm writing B on this fabric because this is the back. So what I'll now do is to cut out that half inch I came down by. Okay, I'll just go trim it off like so. Then I'll then fold my fabric into two to cut the front. Okay, so you need to label the front and the back just so that you don't confuse it, because the back, we did not cut out anything from the center, from the front, from the back rather. Okay, so it's just at the in front, so you need to label them so that you don't mix them up and come out with different patterns. It wouldn't look right. Okay, so I'll then place it like so. Make sure that I place it so well, then I'll go and cut it out like so. Then afterwards, I'll go and notch my that point. You can see, then notch the allowance. That 2 inches allowance is not part of your measurement, so you go and notch that out. Okay, remember that you also have to label this. I'm marking F here to indicate that this is the front. Please, these steps are very minor but very, very important, just so that you don't mistake or misplace your patterns. Now this is the back. I've sewn my darts. Okay, and I want to sew the vent now. So what I would do would be to come from the hem of the skirt. I'll mark my 2 inches hemming allowance first. Then from there, I would mark 5 to 6 inches, depending on how open you want the vent to be. Then you go and sew up to the waistline. Okay, so that's what I've done. And after that, you then fold in 1 inch into 1 inch and another 1 inch. Then you go and sew, just fold in 1 inch and you go sew it down. Do the same thing for the other side, fold in 1 inch and fold over. Then you go and stitch on it. That would serve as your vent. Okay, you go and run a straight stitch like I'm showing you. Right, so that's just it for the back pattern. The next thing we would have to cut out would be our back pocket. The back is really easy. Just go and sew 2 inches. After your hemming allowance of 2 inches, just go and come up by 6 inches like I said, then sew up to the length, to the waistline. Okay, then afterwards you fold in for your vent. Now for the pocket, I'm going to make a pocket length of 5.5 inches. Now you can make yours bigger or smaller, but this length is perfect for a female skirt, because you don't want your pocket to be too wide like a baggy jean, that has big pocket. So 5.5 inches is okay. You can just do 6 inches just to play around it, and that's it. So for the width, I'll be using 2.5 inches. You can do 3 inches by 6 inches. Okay, so and at the length, I'll come up by 1.5 inches. I'm going to make a mark at that point. I'll roll it out like so. So what I would do would be to connect from the 2.5 inches down. I also mark that same 2.5 inches on that 1.5 inches I came up. I'll mark the same thing, then I'll roll it upwards just to make a connection and turn it into a straight line like so. Okay, you just connect. Now the reason I came up by 1.5 inches is just to give me a curve at the hem. Okay, so you can use the curvy part of your ruler to give the curve anyhow you want it. You can go a little bit above that 1.5 like so, but I wouldn't do that. I want to maintain the 1.5. So what I'll do will be to follow the shape, use the curvy part of my ruler to make a mark at 1.5. Okay, so this would give me the perfect shape I want for my pocket. Okay, so depending on the shape you want, you can do the first one I did, but this one is more defined, so I'll then go and cut it out like so. So after cutting out, you're going to place it on your fabric and you're going to cut four of these, four guys, two for the left hand side and two for the right hand side. Okay, so keeping my pattern aside, I'll open it up so you can see. So this is what it looks like. This is what your back pocket of your jeans look like. You can see that defined edge at the lower part. So go ahead and mark that you cut four pieces. Okay, you're going to cut four pieces of this. So I'll fold my fabric, my denim fabric, and cut out four pieces. Okay, so these are the four pieces, two for each side. So I'll place them right side facing right sides like so, and I'll go and stitch. You could use half inch or quarter of an inch, okay, to just sew it all the way around. Then you can now leave an opening of 2 inches or even 1 inch by the side so they can pull them all out from there. Make sure you stitch the upper part, stitch around the curve, then you can leave 1.5. So I've done that. Okay, so I'm done stitching it and I've pulled it out. Then you now stitch on it. So I'm going to show you with this other one. You can see my stitch, I ran a stitch along it. Then you go trim out the edges so that, and you notch it so that it's easy for you when you turn it out. So from that 1.5 inches that I left, I'll go use a sharp object, either your scissors or a screwdriver, to poke out all the edges. You go and iron it and stitch on it. You can see, so I stitched on it. I like top stitching on it, okay, so that it lays flat. Trim out all the excess thread. So you can see my thread lines on it. After turning it out, you iron it and top stitch around it. So from your waistline, you come down by 3 inches. That would be 3 to 3.5 inches. 3.5 inches is fine. Then from your center back, you also mark 3.5 inches. Okay, so that's where you place your pocket, from 3.5 inches from the waistline and 3.5 inches away from the center back. You place it on it and you go and run another stitch to secure the pocket to the skirt. Okay, so that means you'll be having 2 stitches running along your pocket. Okay, it serves as decorative stitch, but you won't stitch the upper part because that's where your hands will pass through for your pocket. You can see the lower part. I've done the vent for the lower part. I've stitched on it, so my pocket is ready. You can see, very beautiful. So this is the pocket you have for your jean skirts or your jean trousers. You can see how that beautiful that came out to be. Now this is the front. I'm done working with the back, so we'll move to the front. Remember, I added 2 inches, so I'm marking out that 2 inches. Okay, so I'll rule it out. This is 2 inches. That's what I added. Now I want to have half inch. I'm going to cut off, leaving half inch, because half inch would be the same allowance. I'll just need to attach my fly zipper. So I've trimmed off, leaving half inch. Now this is the zipper. This is the length of zipper you'll be using. It's around 8 inches long. Okay, it's around 8 inches long. So this procedure I'm going to teach you would be showing you how to you use the same procedure to attach your zipper fly to either a trouser or a skirt. Okay, so I'll mark out half inch first. Then from that half inch, I'll come down. You know that half inch is my band, is my allowance to attach my band to the skirt. So I'll come down by half inch. Then I'll mark it 7 inches or 7.5. Okay, you don't need to mark exactly your zipper length. Now if you're making a trouser, you can do the length of your zipper, okay, or even 7 inches is fine. Okay, so what I'll do is to go sew the side. I have the half inch, I'll just go sew it down, then leave 7 inches. Okay, that mark I made at 7 inches. Now if you're working on a skirt like so, please use 6 inches. You can say I have 7.5. Please use between 5 inches to 6 inches. That way you wouldn't have your crotch, your fly zipper very long. Okay, I'm teaching you this method because you use it to make your trouser as well. I have a detailed tutorial on my channel on how to make trousers. Right, so I've marked the length of my zipper, which is like 7.5. So I've marked it. Then I'll mark 2 inches. Okay, cut it out. The length of what I've marked here is 7.5. You can just do 8 inches just to leave allowance. Then the width is 2 inches as well. All right, so this one is a zipper fly. This one I'm folding now is a zipper shield. So I fold it into 2 and make sure that I still have 2 inches. Okay, so I'll mark 2 inches like so. and I'll go cut out because I need to have 2 inches when I fold. The length is 7.5, but I made 8 inches, okay, just to have an allowance. Right, so I place them on each other, then I can come up by 1.5 inches by the side, come up by 1.5 inches by the side, then you connect to this other side, okay, just to give it that zipper fly shape, okay. So we'll go and cut it out. Right, so the one that is folded into two is the shield, okay, is the shield. The one we folded into two is the shield, while the other one that is free, that is not folded, is the fly. Right, so I'll place them on my fabric and cut out. Then after cutting out, you go to your weaving machine and overlock or overcast the edges, okay, so that you have it really clean and sweet. So I'll go do that and come back and show us what I have. Right, so you can, if you remember, I've sewn my dart for the front part. I've sewn my dart. Right, so the next thing would be to mark my pocket. So from the edge, you mark 3.5, okay, then come down by 2.5, then connect like so. Okay, but if you want your pockets to be wider, you can mark like 5 inches. Okay, 5 inches is okay. So the length is 2 inches, you can make 2.5, so 5 inches by 2.5 is fine. So you can connect like so. You can see the shape I've made. So you fold it together like so, the left and the right hand side, so that you can cut out your pocket. Okay, so you cut like so. Remember, the width is 5 inches and the depth is 2.5. Okay, so cutting this out, this is my pocket. So I'm just going to cut the lining for the pocket. Now for your lining, I would not recommend using ABBA lining or poly or this lining that this really light lining. Please, I wouldn't recommend that. I'm making use of a suit lining, okay. Suit lining is called suit lining, so you need to use something that has weight that wouldn't tear very fast. Right, so my pocket length should be, I'll make 10 inches, but I can always reduce it just to have 10 inches by 10 inches. That's what I've done. But because this is a skirt, it's going to be too big. Okay, you want a moderate pocket, so I'll reduce it. So I'll fold in two places, one for the left hand side and one for the right hand side. Okay, so I'll just go and I'll cut out 2 pieces. Remember, this is on fold, 10 inches by 10 inches. Well, like I said earlier, I don't want my pocket to be too wide, so I've reduced it to like 7 inches by 7 inches. That works better for me. Okay, so you can see I've reduced it. I have like 7 inches length by 7 inch. You can see, okay, so I'll still reduce the length of my pattern. So I have 7 inches by 7 inches, and this works for me because I don't want my pocket to be too wide and too deep. Okay, so this is the pocket I folded into two. So I've opened it up, and I'll get my jean skirt. Then towards one side, I'm going to place the jean skirt on it and trace the shape of my pocket. Exactly the same thing I've made on the skirt. I'll just trace it out on the lining. Okay, please don't use spongy lining, don't use ABBA lining. You use a thick lining. You can use spider lining, you can use sweet lining, okay, you can use bail lining, anything that is stronger than spongy or ABBA lining. Right, so the next thing I'll be doing is to cut my pocket facing. Okay, this is the pocket lining or the pocket, but you need to cut the facing. So I'll mark 1.5 inches away from the pocket shape, okay, that shape for the pocket. So I'll now measure the width I have from that 1.5. So I have 6.5. So I'm going to mark 6.5 as the width of this my pocket facing. Okay, so I also measure the length of my pocket lining. I have around 8 inches as the length of my pocket lining, so I'll mark 6 inches because I also don't want the pocket facing to be as long as the pocket lining. So I've done 6 inches by 6 inches. Okay, so I'll then go cut this out like so. Then along the hem, I'm going to curve it out a little bit. Okay, so you can just come up by 1 inch or 1.5, but 1 inch is fine, 1.5 inches is fine. So you can just shaping it, okay, just to have that smooth curve at the hem. So I'll go cut that out like so. So this is my pocket facing. Then the next thing you need to cut out is your coin pocket or your watch pocket. Okay, there is this really tiny pocket that we see on jeans. Okay, it's called a coin pocket. So I'm going to cut that out. Okay, so I'll be cutting out 2.5 inches for the I'll be cutting out 3.5 inches for the length and 2.5 inches for the width. Okay, so the length is 3.5 inches, the width is 2.5 inches. You can see, so 2.5 inches for the width, okay, then the length is 3.5 inches for my coin pockets. Please, the coin pocket, that small pocket that we see on jeans. So I'll go cut that out. Okay, so 2.5 by 3.5. So I'll just go and place it on my pocket facing, then trim the edges so that to align with that of my pocket facing. You can see what I've done there. Okay, you trim the edge, you just place it on your pocket facing, trim the edges so that it would align, right? So I also measured this just to indicate. I did 6.5, or you can even do 6 inches. That's 6.5, that's what we got. And the length as well, I made 5.25. You can just do 6.5 by 6.5 depending on what you want. So I'll go cut this out on my fabric and I'll come back and show you this is what I have. So I had to cut out 2. All right, so this is my pocket facing and this is my coin pocket. Okay, so placing the coin pocket, I'll just go and fold in 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch all around it and go and stitch it down, okay, by the sides and at the upper part. Okay, so I'll go and stitch it down and come back and show you what I have. So I'm done stitching the coin pocket, you can see. So then you attach it to your pocket facing. So you can see, just go and run a stitch, fold it 1/2 inch or 1/4 of an inch all around, stitch it down and place it on your pocket facing. Okay, so I've done for one side, I'll go and do for the other side, then come back and show you what I have. Okay, so what you do would be to place your facing like so, but before you do this, you go and overlock your pocket facing all round before you place it on your lining. Okay, so I'll go and stitch my coin pocket to my zipper facing, to my pocket facing. Okay, so I've overlocked. All right, so I've placed it on it, so I'll just go and stitch it down. So you can see from that 1.5 inches that we came inward by. Okay, so I'll just go and attach it like so, just go and run a stitch on it all round. Okay, so that's how to attach the facing to the lining. Now after doing that, you then get your lining and get your main fabric, which is the skirt pattern, then place the lining on the fabric. Okay, place the lining on the skirt like so, right side facing right sides. Okay, so you can see, then you go and sew with 1/2 inch. Okay, your facing will show you that that's the right side, so you go and sew with 1/2 inch all around. After sewing, you can see I'm done sewing, so I'll go and notch it all around like so. Just go and notch it all around, then afterwards you pull it inward so that the lining will be inside. Okay, so you're going to pull it out so that the jean fabric would cover the lining so much. You're going to fold the lining inside inward so it doesn't show. Okay, then you go and top stitch on it. Okay, so I'm done top stitching and this is it. You can see, so what I'll do will be to bring out the lining like so. Okay, fold it into 2 like so. Let me bring it to the right side. So what you do will be to fold the lining inside so that what you'll be seeing would be the facing. You can see like so. Okay, just place it like so. You can see the coin pocket inside. So that's what you do. Just go and bring out the pocket, your pocket facing. All right, so I'll do that again so that you see. After top stitching, you then go and bring out the pocket facing, tucking the lining inside like so, then place it like this. So this is what I've done for the left hand side and the right hand side. So this is how to attach your pockets with your facing, your coin pocket, and the lining. All right, so after placing it like so, and you make sure that everything matches, I'll go and pin the upper part. Okay, so you need to go and stitch that part that I've pinned. You go and stitch it down so that it's not moving around. You go and stitch that part down. So all these places I'm pinning, you stitch it so that it doesn't move around. Then you come to the inside of the skirt. Okay, you can see the lining, okay, folded into two like so. So you go and stitch half inch. Just go and make a mark at half inch, then overlock it like so. Then you also stitch down the sides of the lining. Okay, so that's why I pinned that part. You just stitch it down the same way. Then you go and stitch the upper part. Okay, so when you stitch it down, you can secure it or stitch it to the main fabric. Okay, so I've stitched the lining like so. Then you go and overlock it. Then the remaining part is the sides like this. So what you would do, you can see I've also stitched the side of the lining, so you can then pin it together, then run a stitch to join the lining to the main dress. Okay, the main skirt. So I'll go do that later. Then this is my zipper fly and my zipper shield. I've overcasted or overlocked. Then it's time to attach the zipper fly. All right, so I know you're waiting for this part. Right, so this is the zipper I want to use. I want to use a color that matches the thread on my skirt, the thread I use to make my skirt. All right, so zipper fly, zipper shield. So I'll be using the zipper fly. I'll place it on the left hand side. Okay, so depending on the side you want to use, okay, so you depending on the side you want to use, that's where you would curve the shape of the lower part of your zipper fly and zipper shield. Okay, so but I want to use this side, so what I would do, I want to use my left hand side rather. So what I would do is to place it right side facing right side. Then I'll go and stitch it down with half inch. Okay, but I'm making this long. I'm making it long because that's the same way you attach for your trouser. Okay, please, this method will teach you to attach your skirt and trouser. But if you're making a skirt, please, your zipper fly should not be this long, 5 inches maximum, please. Okay, I'm doing this just to show you the same way you can attach it to a trouser, right? So after attaching the zipper fly, you go and top stitch it, then you place your zipper facing downwards. Okay, you face your zipper down, place it on your zipper fly, then face it down. Okay, then you go and stitch by the side. You can see the side I'm pinning, you go and stitch it down. So when you are done, it means so that when you flip it like so, you now see the upper part or the front part of the zipper, and your zipper fly will just overlap it, and you wouldn't be seeing the zipper poking out. Okay, so I've done that. I've gone ahead to stitch it down like so. You can see I've stitched it down. So when I zip it up and fold the zipper fly inwards, you can see what I have like so. So that's what I've done. So I'll just go and fold it in so you can see what it looks like. Okay, at this point you can just go and iron it properly so that it lays really flat, right? So you need ironing at this stage, very, very important, right? So after that, you're going to come in by 1 inch. Okay, then shape it down to the edge like so, just covering it inwards. Okay, you can see that beautiful design that your trousers have. Okay, you can do the same thing for the skirts. So that's why I'm showing you this for both a trouser and a skirt. Then after making it tutorial, I'm going to loosen this and make mine to be 5 inches, my length of the length of my zipper fly to be 5 inches. Okay, so I'm teaching you this. I'm using this as a pattern to make for trouser and skirt, right? So you go and stitch that down. Okay, you can see my curve, so it means that helps to secure the zipper so it's not moving around. Okay, so the next thing I'll do would be to attach the shield. Okay, so after sewing this, you need to attach the shield. So what I would do would be to get the shield. You're going to place the zip in between the other side of the jean skirt. Okay, place the other side of the jean skirt on the zipper, then place the shield on it. You can see what I'm doing. Okay, I might not be explaining this right, but I'm sure that the video is showing you what I'm saying or what I mean. Okay, place the other side of the skirt on top of the zip. Okay, on top of the other end of the zip, then pin it to the shield. Okay, that way the zipper is in between the shield and the other side of the skirt. Okay, so I'll just go and pin it down and stitch it down. Okay, so the part that I pinned, that's the part you go and sew. Okay, you just go and stitch it down with 1/2 inch. Okay, that's why we left 1/2 inch initially. Right, so you can see I'm done attaching that. Okay, so after attaching that, that's just it. You can see your zipper fly is ready. So what I'll do will just be to place my back pattern on the front pattern, go and take my measurements and stitch it right down. Okay, so that's what I'll do. Then afterwards, I'll go and hem the bottom of my skirt that will come to attach the band. Alright, so I'm done doing that. I've sewn the sides, I've hemmed the lower part of my skirt. You can see my back pockets, and you can see my front pocket. You can see my zipper fly. Okay, you can actually rock yours like this. So, but me, I mind though. I want mine to be 5 inches. Right, so I'll go measure around the waistline of my skirt, then cut out my band just the way you cut out your normal waistband. Okay, so remember I want a band height of 2 inches, so I'll cut out 3 inches separately. Okay, I'll cut out 3 inches separately, then place them right side facing right side. So go and stitch 1/2 inch down, then fold it inwards and top stitch. Then you go and fold in the sides like so, pull it out, then you go and attach it to your skirt. So the way you attach your skirt, you open up your zipper fly, then place it in between the band. Okay, so you go fold in 1/2 inch. You can use your iron to fold in 1/2 inch on the two sides like so. Then put your skirt in between the band. Okay, and go stitch it down. Like I said, measure around your waist to get the length of your band. Then the width, remember I said I want a band height of 2 inches, so you cut out 3 inches so that by the time you top stitch the upper part with 1/2 inch, you'll be left with 2.5. Then use the remaining 1/2 inch to attach the band to the skirt, so you'll be left with your 2 inches band. Okay, so I'm done with attaching the band. So you can see my skirt. So I'll just go and attach a button to the upper part, make my buttonhole and attach the upper part. Okay, so you can see, I hope you learned 1 or 2 things from this tutorial, and I hope it helps you when you're making yours. So you can see my pockets, my coin pocket, my back pocket, my zipper fly, my vents, everything is on point, looking really beautiful. I hope you found this video really helpful. So I'll just go try it on, okay, and show you what it looks like. Okay, I'm already wearing a dress, but I'm just wearing the skirt underneath it to show you what I have. So you can see the back, see my back pocket like so. You can see it came out really beautiful. So you can see what I said about the length of your zipper fly. Okay, if you want yours to be this long, that's fine, but I'll go and loosen this and make mine to be 5 inches long. Okay, I did this so that you can know how to attach to your trouser as well. So you can see me rocking this really beautiful. So see you next time. I love you. Bye.